My audience. Yeah. Hello everyone, my name is Grant Bontalon and I am a second year here at San Jose State. And today, the purpose of my speech is to use Monroe's motivated sequence and to persuade you guys to support the right to carry concealed firearms. So on April 29th, 1992, 4 white police officers were seen beating a black man named Rodney King nearly to death. These 4 white police officers were acquitted by an all-white jury, and this angered the black community, leading to riots. During these riots, Reginald Denny, who was a white truck driver at the time, was dragged out of his car by a black man named Damian Williams and was severely beaten. Due to the riots, the police were ordered to withdraw from the city, thus leading to no protection for Denny. Would there have been a different outcome had Denny been armed? This is why U.S. citizens deserve to have the right to carry concealed firearms. There is a need for more individual self-protection against violent crimes. Citizens aren't able to protect themselves against violent crimes in public. We are at an unfair disadvantage towards criminals who are carrying firearms on their person, and many law-abiding citizens are forced to break the law in order to protect themselves. Also, personal assaults and homicides in the U.S. are some of the highest in the developed worlds. Police are not required to or able to protect individuals. Instead, they are required to protect themselves and their loved ones. Now, before I get into this next case, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about distress calls. Now, police distress calls usually take them to get to the scene around 7 minutes up to an hour. Now talking about that, this next case called the Warren versus District of Columbia case is the perfect example of that. So according to Kastner's article, in this case, there were 2 women who heard their third roommate screaming, and so they dialed 911. After about 30 minutes, they heard the screaming stop, so they assumed that the police had arrived. They ended up going downstairs only to find that the criminals were still in the house. Once they saw the criminals captured them, then robbed and raped them for 14 hours straight. Violent assault is a problem in the United States. According to disastercenter.com, crime rate has increased from the years 1960 to 2013. So this is my visual aid, and it's a chart that shows the crime rates from 1960 all the way up to 2013. It has different statistics too, murder, rape, and all that. So in 1960, the crimes were at a high of 3 million. Now last year in 2013, it was at 10 million, so a big difference. The homicide rate in the U.S. last year was made up of all violent crimes was at a high of 4.7%. That is why we need to have the right to carry concealed firearms. Now, the legalization of carrying concealed firearms can benefit society in multiple ways. One, it can act as a deterrent towards criminals. When I say act as a deterrent towards criminals, I mean, look at Texas. Texas has the right to carry concealed firearms, and California doesn't. Texas has a lot lower crime rate than California, according to neighborhoodscout.com. Also, citizens will feel safer since the criminals don't know who has a gun, which means fewer crimes. There would also be fewer crime rates since criminals would think twice about committing their crime. Fewer crime rates means a safer country, which will allow people to be able to go out and not be threatened. Right to carry firearms benefits society by helping the economy grow. The way it can help the economy grow is by creating a higher demand in gun sales. An example of a higher demand in gun sales would be right after the Sandy Hook shooting at the elementary school. So after the Sandy Hook Hook Elementary School shooting, in 7 states, gun sales rose rapidly. Of those 7 states, California was one of them, according to Salon.com. These are all possible outcomes from allowing people to carry concealed firearms. Now imagine this. Each state can learn from each other to see how having the right to carry concealed firearms is working out. The country can also place a right to carry law, also known as shall issues. According to buckeyefirearms.org, shall issues are when someone has to have a license or a permit on their person to carry a concealed firearm. This also allows only responsible people to carry concealed firearms. More safety. Carrying concealed firearms laws, also known as CCWs, will also reduce crime without threatening the public. Over the past 14 years, 22 states have adopted some sort of a CCW law, which shows that it's deterring crimes. Right to carry states' average shootings have dropped a high rate of 69% after the law was put into action. This will work against violent crimes and assault and robbery victims. Assault and robbery victims' lowest injuries were victims who resisted with firearms. An example of this would be in Alabama at the Shoney's restaurant, where two criminals came in to hold up the restaurant and steal all their money and everything. When this happened, there was a man named Thomas Glenn Terry hiding underneath the table, and the two criminals aimed and pointed their gun at Terry, telling him to get up. Terry stood up, and he had a firearm on his person, pulled it out, and killed both criminals, saving the day. So this will protect us from violent crimes and will prevent them from occurring. Now that I have showed you guys cases and instances where having the right to carry concealed firearms comes in handy, this is why the U.S. government should allow people to carry concealed firearms. If we continue to live this way, then the crime rates will stay the same or even increase due to the fact that the police are not able to protect individuals. Having this law in the U.S. will allow citizens to protect themselves, and it will also act as a deterrent towards criminals. So I hope you guys will join the few who support the right to carry concealed firearms, because this can be a huge positive for our country. Thank you.